Thank you very much, guys. This is lovely. Happy 2020. Are we good? Yeah. Fabulous, fabulous. I'm glad to see the back of 2019. Anyone else? Yeah. It was a weird year, wasn't it? Did everyone see the Prince Andrew interview? Did we all see that? What do we think? Do we think he was in Pizza Express, or do we think he was fucking a teenager? What do you think? What do we think? He was fucking a teenager, wasn't he? It was quite obvious he was lying, right? Because he said, I couldn't have been with that girl. I couldn't have been with her because I was in Pizza Express in Woking. And then he was asked, why were you in Pizza Express? And he said, oh, it was my daughter's friend's birthday. Come on, that's not believable. Now, if when asked why you were in Pizza Express, he said, I had a voucher, we'd be like, yeah, fair enough. That's why you go to Pizza Express. Makes sense. But yeah, New Year 2020. Anyone doing New Year's resolutions? We doing New Year's resolutions? Anyone trying to get fit this year? Yeah, a few people, yeah. So I've made 3 New Year's resolutions. Like, first one is I'm going to teach my parents how and when it is appropriate to use emojis, because they have not nailed that shit. Right? That's the first one. Secondly, I'm going to travel more because I want to see a bit more of the world. And the third thing, I've recently taken up CrossFit because I want to find out what it's like to be a massive prick. Anyone done it? Anyone tried CrossFit? No, yeah, you tried it, yeah? You know what it's like? Basically, if you've never seen CrossFit, the concept of CrossFit is you pay 120 quid a month to jump up and down on boxes in a disused warehouse with a group of very easily led and pretty mentally unstable white-collar workers, right? That is the concept of CrossFit, right? I'm going to try it out, and if I don't get on with it, I'm going to retreat into the safe arms of the stand-up comedy world, where everyone is totally stable. So that's my 2020 plan. I got it nailed. But I'm going to teach my parents how to use emojis because they've not got it right. And I know this because we recently set up a family WhatsApp group, right? And just before Christmas, so my sister and I were going around to my parents at Christmas, and just before Christmas, my mum put a message on the group. She said, right, I'm doing the Christmas shop. I'm ordering in the food for Christmas Day. Does anyone want anything specifically? Now, my sister's a vegetarian. Sometimes my mum forgets this. So I said, if you're getting a traditional roast, don't forget to get something veggie for Julie. She said, oh yes, don't worry. It's going to be a very special day. We're all getting turkey emoji. Your sister is getting aubergine emoji. My dad responded with, not under my roof, she's not. I said, yeah, Dad, because the only 2 men that are going to be there on Christmas Day are you and me. And we're having Christmas in London, not the West Country, so it's out. It's going to be weird. But yeah, I'm very different to my parents. Like, my dad is a very blunt man, very direct man, right? He's a very blunt Welshman, right? My mum, she's a bit East London. She's kind of like Peggy Mitchell. And I've never really been like them. I never really sounded like them either, really. But I didn't really think that my voice or my accent was particularly descriptive. I didn't think you could really describe it that well up until last year when I went on a date, right? It was a first date, which I thought had gone well, right? So I was messaging the lady the next day, trying to arrange a second date, and she responded with, and I quote, look, you seem really nice, but I just can't get over how much your voice sounds like a 90s radio DJ. I thought it had gone well. Clearly she'd walked in and heard, it's just gone 8 o'clock and welcome to Zizi's. So sit back, relax, and let's look at what we've got coming up for you over the next 2 hours. Well, we're going to be kicking off with a starter, but stick around after that because a little bit later on, we'll be moving on to a main. But before all of that, Cassie, it's competition time. And today's big question, do you want to go for the house wine or one of these more expensive bottles? Now, take your time over your answer, Cassie. Take your time, because the answer to this question will determine whether I foot the bill for tonight or we go Dutch. Oh, she's gone for the house wine. Congratulations, Cassie. You just won yourself a free meal. Fantastic. So, Cassie, tell me, how did you get here tonight? Train, you say? Well, let's find out what's going on with the trains and the rest of the traffic and travel with Dan. He's been listening in on speakerphone. Dan, how's it looking out there? Absolute chaos, Phil. Classics at Friday night. A10 and A24, completely chocker thanks to an earlier lorry spill. Train's not looking too great either. To be honest, if Cassie's thinking of taking the Thameslink service home, I suggest she finds another route because there's a signal failure at Orpington. Back to you, Phil. Okay, thanks, Dan. Cassie, looks like you're going to have to take another route home. I'd recommend Uber, but this is a 90s radio show and that hasn't been invented yet. So I've always like sounded different to them, and I didn't go to a particularly good school. I went to quite a rough comprehensive school in South London, and I didn't fit in there. And I tried to kind of like South London my accent, you know. I tried to be a bit of a geezer. I started reading Nuts magazine. Stopped wearing cravats. Yeah. But none of that seemed to work, you know. So I thought I'd talk to my dad about the situation, right? As a Welshman who moved to England, I thought he might have some tips about fitting in, right? So I told him how I tried to kind of like change my accent and change what I wore. And he looked at me and he shook his head and he just went, "You posh twat. What have I told you? Don't bother trying to fit in school. Just get your head down, get to the end of it, and when you finish, you'll get a nice job in, I don't know, IT or something." And I couldn't believe it, you know. I'd gone to him for help and I was shocked. Partly because that was the first time in my life I realised he was Tom Jones. But also because he'd stereotyped me, you know. He put me in the same mould as every other white middle-class kid. And I was like, no, Dad, I'm not going to be one of those IT worker corporate puppets. I'm going to do something creative with my life, something different. And that's what I did when I got out there into the big wide world. I went and worked in music. I was working in the arts. I was doing really creative stuff. And I was happy, you know. I was looking at those corporate monkeys and they rat raced to work. So I was like, you see, Dad, you see? I fucking told you. Up until 2007, when I took a job in IT. I've been there 12 years now. Yeah. It's good, you know. It pays the bills, doesn't it? And, it's a good pension scheme. And it's still creative, you know. It's still cool and creative, you know. On Fridays, we can wear whatever we want in the office. So it's pretty good. But I used to resent my dad a little bit for you know, sort of pigeonholing me like this, like to make him think that this is all I could do. But I kind of realised in the end that he actually just wanted the best for me. He just wanted me to be successful, and I'm okay with him for that, right? And my parents are very different people, right? So my mum is a very like empathetic people. She's a very empathetic person, very emotional person, right? She's the sort of person that cries at John Lewis adverts, right? Not just the Christmas ones, like Black Friday, January sales, the whole lot. Very strange, right? And at the beginning of last year, I had an elderly aunt who passed away, right? And we knew she was moving on, and so my parents drove to Swansea to be with her for her last few days, right? She lived there. They didn't take her to Swansea to die. That's not a thing. You know, Swansea is not the Dignitas of the UK. That's Eastbourne. And she passed away overnight, right? And the following afternoon, I got this message from my mum. "I know you were probably expecting this, but I just wanted to tell you the very sad news that Auntie Margaret passed away peacefully in her sleep last night. I know this might be very hard for you to take, as I know you're very close to her. So please call me whenever you need me. I'm always here if you want to chat." So I responded with, "Hey, Mum. Yeah, Dad passed on the news this morning. I've been thinking about it ever since. It's incredibly sad, although, as you say, not unexpected. I hope you're doing okay too." Okay. Now, this is the earlier message exchange with my dad on the morning of the same day. Right? Me. "Hey, Dad, any update on Auntie Margaret? Dad, dead." Me, "Cheers for the update." Dad, thumbs up emoji. Oh, guys. That's what they're like. I've got one more little story to tell. I've been trying to travel a bit more. And like I said, last year I actually went off and did quite a bit of traveling. Went off to Australia for a few months to see a bit of the world. Is there any Aussies in, by the way? No? Okay. So I got told one story when I was in Oz. I was in there for 3 months. I got one story more than any other, which is the drop bear story. Has anyone heard this story? Yeah, you've heard it. Have you been to Oz? Yeah, okay. So if you've been, you might have heard this. This is a story that Aussies like to tell visitors about these mystical killer bears that feed on tourists, right? It's like a massive Australian in-joke. The British equivalent would be something like Boris Johnson. Okay, that's the level. And I heard this story like a dozen times over the course of a few months. And then the last week I was there, I was in Adelaide, which if you've never been, very much the Milton Keynes of Australia. I wouldn't recommend it. And I was in this bar, and this guy spotted my bag, and he went, "Oh, mate, where you from?" I said, "Oh, I'm here from England. I'm travelling around seeing the country." He went, "Oh, nice, mate, nice. Well, got a little tip for you while you're here. watch out for the drop bears, because you're a tourist, mate, and they feed on tourists. And if you're not careful, you're walking under a tree, you don't look up, a drop bear could drop right down on you and tear you apart. Now, I just like to warn you guys, because, of course, you don't have bears in England, do you? Oh, no, we do. It's a very localised problem there. Oh, yeah? Yeah. Paddington train station in London. It's a Peruvian bear found wandering around there. Now, I thought he'd clock straight away. He didn't. He went, a bear? In a rail station? Well, how did it get there? Mate, that is a long story. Mate, what's it doing now? I was like, oh, well, eventually his family found it and they took it home to live with them. What? To their house? That's one fucking weird creature who wants to live in a house in London. It's like, mate, if you want to see weird creatures, you should visit Wimbledon Common. Guys, you've been absolutely lovely. Have a great New Year.